All right, guys, they're going to introduce you to something called complex numbers. Complex numbers, also known as imaginary numbers, and it kind of sounds weird, but here we go. They come from the fact that you can't take the square root of a negative number. I mean, think about this. If you have like square root of -4, and you try to take the square root of that, well, some people say, well, it's -2, but that's not true because -2 times -2 is not -4. There's nothing times itself that would give you -4. So what they've done is they come up with a new set of numbers that allow you to do that. And there are applications to this, which we can talk about, but one being the building of bridges, you'd have to have imaginary numbers, but there's other ones too. But anyway, square root of -4, what we would do is we will use the I, and what I equals the square root of -1. So really what we're doing when we take the square root of a negative number is we're going to say -4 is really -1 times 4. -1 is just square root of -1 is I. The square root of 4 is 2. So we just say, oh, it's 2I. And that's how it's going to work. All right, so I equals the square root of -1 is very important. I equals the square root of -1. One more time, I equals the square root of -1, which means, one more thing, I squared equals -1. You just take the square root away. And that's going to be very important tomorrow. But today, I is square root of -1. All right. Find the square root of each number. The first one's square root of -25. You can break that down like this. Square root of -1 times square root of 25. The square root of 25 is 5. The square root of -1 is I. Really, all you're doing is you're taking an I out. Let me show you this one, what I'm talking about. Really, you're taking an I out, taking the negative out, and then making that 72. Don't forget how to break down square roots. 72 is really 36 times 2. So I can take a 6 out because it's a square root of 36. Don't forget the I. The 2 stays in because I have no idea what the square root of 2 is. And then this last one, I'm going to rewrite it so I have room. -5 times the square root of -9. Again, take out the I. When you take out the I, it makes it +9. And then the square root of 9 is 3. So I'm going to take the 3 out, multiply it by the 15 that's already there, and it's -15I. All there is to it. Hope that makes some sense to you. Okay, complex numbers are in this form, A plus BI. The A is called the real part. The BI is called the imaginary part for obvious reasons. So what they're going to have you do is just find X and Y here to satisfy these equations. The only way these can be equal to each other is if the left-hand side equals the right-hand side. So what I'll see first of all is there's a 9 right here, and there's not 1 over here. So X has to equal 9. It's that simple. There's a 3I here, which means for that to be equal, there has to be a 3I over there. Because there's a negative sign in front, I'm going to say Y has to be -3 because -3 is +3I. And that's it. That's all you do. Just set them equal, right? Again, here's an equal sign. There's a 9. And there's a -2x. So -2x must equal the 9, which means x is going to be -9/2. The Y, the 4yi has to equal the 3I, which the i's would cancel basically. Or if you do this, if you divide 3I by 4I, the i's would cancel and you would get 3/4. So there's your Y. So the first kind of problem you're going to see tomorrow is what we did in the last slide, some square roots of negative numbers. The second type, they're going to give you some equations like this, and you just got to make both sides equal to each other. That's all there is to it. We got one more thing. The last thing I'm going to have you do is add or subtract some complex numbers and write your answer in standard form. By the way, this is what standard form looks like, remember. A plus BI. That's how they want their answer. So addition's really hard. I'll go really slowly. You do this right here. You add the real parts, A plus 5, 13. Hope that wasn't too fast for you. Then I'm going to add the i's. -1i plus 4i is 3i. And guys, that's standard form already. There's your answer. All you got to do. Let's do a subtraction one. Subtraction is even harder because what you have to do is subtract straight across. 7 minus 3 is 4. Then I'm going to be careful with these two. -6i minus -6i. So you're really subtracting -6i from itself, or it's like -6i plus 6i, which is 0. So that's it. And that is complex form. Just as 0i. Don't write 0i, just put 4. And the last one on the whole video, you've made it. That minus sign is going to change the signs of everything inside like that. All right, the rest of it is brought down. 13 minus 2 is 11. -7 plus 5 is -2i. and that's it. That's really it. I hope you got that stuff. Not very difficult at all, but just new. I is the square root of negative 1. Don't forget I is the square root of negative 1. It allows us to do negative square roots, which are important. So I'll see you tomorrow. We'll work on these 3 skills, and we'll be great at it.